Section 6.1, Developing Logic. This section is primarily about thinking clearly and in an organized manner. We will use balances and scales as a model for thinking through problems. A balance is a device that we use in science that has two pans, and as long as the amount of weight on each pan is the same, it stays balanced. If we have more weight on one side or the other, then that side goes downward. A scale is a similar type of object, except that with a scale, it tells you the actual total amount that something weighs. Example, if a circle weighs 20 pounds, how much does a triangle weigh? If you just glance at the picture, your intuition is probably good enough to tell you that the answer is going to be 40 pounds. But that's not the important thing right now. The important thing is how you get to 40 pounds. You start off with the information, one circle weighs 20 pounds. Now I'm being slightly sloppy here by using an equal sign, but it's good enough for here. In our picture, one of the pans has two circles, and so it's useful for us to go to two circles. If we know that one circle weighs 20 pounds, two circles would weigh 40 pounds. Next, we use the fact that this is balanced to know that two circles weighs the same thing as one triangle. So one triangle weighs 40 pounds. The triangle weighs 40 pounds. Again, the idea of these problems is not the answer, but making sure you're able to describe how you get to the answer. Here's another example. If a triangle weighs 20 pounds, how much does a circle weigh? Again, if you glance at the picture, your intuition is probably good enough that you'll say that a circle weighs 10 pounds. But the question is, how do you get there? We start off with the fact that one triangle weighs 20 pounds. We use the fact that this is balanced to get that two circles must weigh 20 pounds. So if two circles weighs 20 pounds and you want the weight of one circle, you can see that dividing by 2 on each side will get you your answer. If two circles weighs 20 pounds, then one circle weighs 10 pounds. One circle weighs 10 pounds. Now this problem is instructive because it helps you to see how to think through the problem. Students, when they look at this, will sometimes justify the answer that one circle weighs 10 pounds because then two circles would weigh 20 pounds. That's actually logically backwards. That's sort of going up in the logic as opposed to following the logic downward. It is true that if one circle weighs 10 pounds, then two circles would weigh 20 pounds. But you're starting from the information that two circles weighs 20 pounds and you're trying to get to the one circle. Example, if a circle weighs 60 pounds, how much does a triangle weigh? This problem is more complicated because you have more pieces of information going into the problem. However, you can still get there logically step by step. One circle weighs 60 pounds. This is where we start. We know that one circle is completely balanced with two squares. So two squares weighs 60 pounds. Where do we go from here? Well, if we look at our other picture, our second picture has one square right here. So we should try to get down to one square from our two squares. How do we do that? We divide by 2. One square must weigh 30 pounds. Knowing that one square weighs 30 pounds, we could then use the fact that one square weighs the same thing as 3 triangles to keep on going forward. If one square weighs 30 pounds, 3 triangles weigh 30 pounds. We want to get the weight of a single triangle, so we divide both sides by 3. One triangle weighs 10 pounds. One triangle weighs 10 pounds. In this problem, we have a scale to work with. If a circle weighs 150 grams, how much does a square weigh? This problem is different because you're working with different types of information. We still have that one circle weighs 150 grams, but now the question is, how do we get from circles to squares? In this case, we should think of it as taking that circle and removing it from the scale. If we remove the circle from the scale will get lighter by 150 grams. So we have the 2 squares equals 500 minus 150 grams. We can do the calculation. 2 squares equals 350 grams. And now we want to get down to 1 square, so we divide both sides by 2. Section 6.2, Expressions and Equations. An expression is a collection of mathematical symbols that has a specific value. So for example, 5 plus 3 has a value. The value is 8. 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. These are expressions. They're collections of symbols that have a specific value. An equation is a mathematical sentence that is either true or false. 1 plus 1 equals 2. This is a mathematical statement and it's true. 1 plus 1 does in fact equal 2. 2 plus 3 equals 23. This is still an equation. It is a complete mathematical sentence, but this one happens to be false. 2 plus 3 is not 23. The calculations you will do in the future will depend on whether you have an expression or an equation. To simplify an expression means to write the expression in the simplest manner possible. For now, this will mean that you will end up with a number, but later on it will mean that your variables have been properly combined. Example, simplify 9 plus 4 times 5. 9 plus 4 times 5. According to the order of operations, we do the multiplication before the addition. So this is 9 plus 20, which is the same thing as 29. Notice that all of these expressions have the same value. 9 plus 4 times 5 has the same value as 9 plus 20, and 9 plus 20 has the same value as 29. 29 is the simplest of all these expressions because there's nothing left to compute. Determine whether the equation negative 4 squared is equal to 12 minus negative 4 is true or false. So we're asking a question. Does this side actually equal that side? Well, in order to check this, we have to simplify both sides individually. Negative 4 squared is going to be a negative 16 because the exponent is next to the 4 and the 4 is not grouped with the negative sign. On the right-hand side, we have 12 minus negative 4. Subtracting a negative is the same as adding. 12 plus 4 is equal to 16. These two things are not the same, so the equation is false.